Morning.
So what are we doing here today, ma'am?
I am helping decorate. Putting up all the flags and bringing some items from different Mohawk communities for the display.
So how did you become involved with the project?
Partly because I love fawn, and we have a little group of Mohawk and Haudenosaunee heritage folks in the Bay Area who get together and we work on learning language together. So we have a little Bay Area Mohawk language class.
So I just stated my name and my clan and where I'm from. But we grew the tobacco back up north in Akwesasne, and we use it for ceremony purposes. We use it for to give thanks, especially. And the tobacco has a language of its own. You know, Elder Francis Boots told me that. He says when we burn tobacco, we say the words and the tobacco carries the smoke up to the natural law or the natural world, and they communicate like that. And we burn tobacco too when someone's sick, and it helps them up. It helps them to heal and stuff. And but she's right. You know, we want to send people off in a good way after they leave here too.
And everyone has their cigarette, things
Yeah.
like that.
Just the safe travels home.
Yeah,
know.
safely.
And I think Fawn picked the sage. Or she
And
got the sage somewhere.
Yeah, sage is to like cleanse the air,
Yeah.
cleanse your aura, cleanse your room, cleanse whatever you need cleansing, and it makes you connected to the natural world. And it's just like a good thing to do, good atmosphere, put in a good mood and everything, yeah.
Because in nature, we're all connected. We're all connected no matter what, every living thing.
And what kind of tobacco is this?
It's Indian tobacco. These are the seeds. If anybody wants to take any seeds, and they can plant it at home and start their own.
How you doing? Zach Harp? Are we ever gonna get some of that video, Zach?
Which video?
This video. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Tell me a little bit about today. What you be doing here, man?
We're here to celebrate Richard Oakes' birthday today. Celebrate him. The fam came down to throw some prayers down. So we just come here to support the cause.
All right.
And you don't see me drinking a Crystal Geyser bottle.
Nah, man. Nestle is not you, right?
And the first hallway to the right.
So, Gary, man.
Oh, what's up,
Talk to me, man. Tell me
How you
what's
been,
going on
bro?
here
How
today,
you been?
boss. I'm doing great, boss. So, tell me, what are we here today, man?
We're just out here supporting my sister Marilyn. They're got a dance group coming over here honoring Richard Oakes today, so we just thought to be a part of it. And it's kind of historic because, you know, everybody doesn't realize the impact Richard Oakes' actions led on to the progression of Native people. So I'm here for support.
How are we doing today, miss?
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good. So,
Good.
tell me a little bit about what we're doing here today.
I'm playing a raffle game right now. I'm actually here to support my good friend Fawn Oakes and the commemoration of Richard Oakes today. And so I get to, she's asked me to come and open up with a prayer, and so I'm happy to be here.
Tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing here today, miss?
Yeah, so here I am staffing for the Richard Oakes celebration. We're giving out free tote bags with Richard Oakes' face up there. We also have free t-shirts as well. So if you haven't come by the table already, come by and get you some free swag.
And what's cool about this particular newsletter is that in many ways it's actually a tribute to Richard, because it has all the resolutions that they made at the island at the time that they took the Takeover Indian of All Tribes conference. Remember him reading that on the island many times. And also, what's actually kind of sad
That's so nice, everybody.
And why I thought that they should have it is there's a poem for Yvonne, who died on the island, and a picture of her and her brother and sister and her mom.
All right. Want to give me a few words about the event today?
Well, it's a kind of a special event because this is probably going to be maybe an annual event that we'll be doing. But what Fawn and the Oaks family is talking about doing is not just centering here, but just kind of taking it around to different reservations, alternate the theme, you know, the program, like different reservations every year, find a different spot. Maybe we're talking about Yakima next year, you know, and places that Richard and some of the elder people, you know, went and visited early in the day. So Washington, the fishing rights, you know, a lot of those places that Richard went, we'd like to take that memorial to those places, you know, during the course of that time. I don't know, whenever it's in the planning stages now, but this one is special because this is the first one that we're really doing outside of Alcatraz and doing it in his honor especially, and it's part of the first memorial that's happening, and it's way long overdue. You know, it's 53 years back, so this time we started talking about some of our heroes, you know, and not worry about what other people are feeling, or, you know, it's just something that has to be done. And I think it's important for all of the youth, you know, the people that are growing up right now, all of the people that were there 50 years ago, all have great grandchildren now, grandsons, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and they're starting to have children already. So that's part of that memorial that we want to keep alive. You know, and not only mention Richard, but also the other Indian activists that were involved. This is like for Richard right now because he was one of the guys that instigated it, and without him, a lot of this would not have been possible. So this is why we're doing this now, you know, to get that word out before people are gone and we're not being able to get and share those stories that we know. You know, because there's a lot, this room's full of stories. And everybody has that little story of stuff that's happened to them. So, you know, I think it's going to be a great event, and this is a good start. And there, you know, there's probably could have been better on the weekend, but that's all right. You know, I think we're going to be fine. But the thing about this, it's just important for the history of natives in California. We never talk about California Indians. You know, and California is rich with history of everything, genocide, the gold rush, all that crap that came down California Indians had to go through. So it's time that we started talking about those problems that California Indians have also. You know, there's stories all up and down the coast. And nobody ever kind of, you know, we like on Alcatraz, when we do ceremonies out there, who do we call to come down and dance for us? We call the people from up north, you know, because they're the only ones that have stuck to their traditions, and we're just learning. So it's important that all of us communicate with each other in a good way, and I think we'll all be fine.
So we'll just start by saying, Chimisanwe, my name is Morningstar Gali. I am from the Pitt River Tribe located in northeastern California. It's an honor to be here with all of you today. I know that many of you traveled from long distances to arrive. We are honored to be guests here on Ramaytush Ohlone territories in this area known as Yelamu. At this time, we are bringing Karina Gould up, and Karina will offer us an opening prayer. Thank you.
I'll just hold it. Okay. Good day, relatives. My name is Karina Gould. I am the tribal chair for the Confederated Villages of Lashawn Nation. My ancestors are from the East Bay, and I'm so happy to be here today at San Francisco State in Yelamu. And this is the tribal territory of the Ramaytush people who were enslaved at Mission Dolores with my people. We were taken from the East Bay and brought over here. San Francisco State holds many of our ancestral remains and sits on 2 village sites in Shellmouth here in the Bay Area on this campus. And so for me, it's like coming home to these places that are sacred. In urban areas, we almost never know where those places are when we're at them. And so I like to call them out for people that have been here for many times and people that are here for the first time. That oftentimes our institutions in the Bay Area are created on the village sites and cemeteries of our ancestors. And that's true for UC Berkeley and Stanford and Dominican as well. So we offer prayers for those ancestors that are here, that have been here for thousands and thousands of years. I'm also humbled to be asked to come and open this space up because I'm relatively a young person for this area of this kind of work, right? So I stand on the shoulders of my ancestors and the elders that are standing in this room with us today, and the deep sacrifices that our elders did on our behalf, so that all of the work that we're doing across the country is because of the work that they did as young people to stand up. Our relative, Richard, who we are honoring today, and his family, was only 30 years old. I have children that are older than that now. You imagine the courage that it took for young people to take over that island. My ancestors believed that that island for us is a sacred place, a place where our ancestors never went to. Even though this island was inside of the middle of the bay and we share that with many tribes, for us it was a place that our ancestors rested. For 4 days, their spirits stayed there as we said prayers and had ceremony on our lands. We believe on the 4th day, our ancestors, as the sun is setting, traveled through the Western Gate, where we now know as Golden Gate Bridge. So that's part of our cosmology, our histories, our stories, is that Alcatraz is the sacred place. I don't believe that it was a mistake that young people came and took that island in that kind of a way, because there was so much harm that had happened there before, and that ancestors from different places encouraged their spirits to do that work. And so today we honor that work. We honor the work of those that did that, so that we could all stand up today as stronger Indigenous people. And so we offer a prayer. Ancestors, grandmothers, and grandfathers, we thank you for our lives. We thank you for this circle of people and those that were wanting to be here and couldn't be here with us today. We gave special blessings and prayers for Richard Oak's family, for bringing us together, continuously opening up our hearts, continuously doing this work, and all of the committee that continues to lift up the work of those young people that came and took that island. That was so much more than just that. We thank you so much, grandmothers and grandfathers, for the elders and for their wisdom. We ask that you give them special blessings and prayers, that they continue to be with us, to pass on those knowledges, those laughters, those stories for the next 7 generations to learn from. We ask grandmothers and grandfathers to take care of our sick, those that are having a hard time, those that are imprisoned behind bars and walls in their own minds and addictions. We ask grandmothers and grandfathers to continue to bless those that are having a hard time in mourning, to take their hearts and to hold them tenderly, and that our new ancestors are met by their ancestors with song and language and ceremony. We ask for special blessings for our waters, our bays, our oceans, our seas, our streams, our fogs, our rains, our rivers, our creeks. We ask that they continue to flow freely with fresh water for the next 7 generations, and that we heal those waters for the next 7 generations and beyond. We ask for special blessings for the winds, that they continue to bring us fresh air and pollinate our foods and our medicines for the next 7 generations and beyond. Say a special blessing and prayer for our Mother Earth that holds us up every day. She continues her healing, and that we're able to stay here with her to help her through that process. We say a special blessing and prayer for a relative fire, that we come back in right relationship with them. We ask that they help us to learn those lessons, that they keep our people and our four-legged and winged safe during these times. We ask grandmothers and grandfathers to go into our hearts and our minds to take care of anything else that we need at this moment, to bless us while we are here, to get us home safely to our families, to keep us safe from sickness, and keep us safe from violence. We thank you so much for our lives. Oh, oh, oh.
Thank you to Karina Gould for that opening prayer. We are now going at this time to ask for Sherry Oaks to come up.
Sego. Tego wawina yungyats. Wakatahiuni ni wakita lodo. Akwazasne ni te wakeno. I'm just introducing myself. It's my traditional name, Tego Wawina. I'm Wolf Clan, and I come from Akwazasne. And I'm going to do the opening. We call it a Thanksgiving address, and it's words before all else when we have gatherings and stuff. Te wakadupo Johnny and Guaniguna that say Wanda Kalik Wadeko. Kalik Biotala, Tayum Guaniguna Sundolo, Gio Punjade, Toga Dinium Doha from Guaniguna. You wet that Sani today, Tinapolado, Unqueta Aguma, Ginikayon, Cat the Gabon de Lona Headsta, Launa Deliant, that's a lot sooner on Gowana. Nukji, Niduami Nodo, Yunkina Waze, Ayakin Hege, Toga Dinium Doha from Guaniguna. Te tino polado ye titni staha o wanja ji gyunki awis a gwego jina ho danso ye yet dage yon he. A gwego jina ho do yo yo ayeda what's that ayagin hege. Tigyogin a gwego ye titni staha o wanja go sat stansala gyungwada salande. E toga dini doha from Guaniguna. O neganos uli wandamo ayungwa nagayandage ayagin hege. Tigyogande yo deliana lo hage o neganos. Tano yagodi na waze jino ho danso de yungwa wadaze hage. Adun hetalago o hando ayo tu hage. E toga dini doha from Guaniguna. De tinumolado jinigo yo diotos ne kajunk suma. Yunkia de natalawis. Yunkia de natalawis. O wahlutala dana o neganos. Ono kwatala igo oni e toga dini doha from Guaniguna. Yo no gyoko wano jinio de gyoko ge o jinua asuma. Ezo yagodi na waze jinu wanja kundiha skana agahage jiu punjabe. E toga dini doha from Guaniguna. Aso ni gunde de ka agua. Te tino polado aso ni gunde de ka agua. E toga dini doha from Guaniguna. A gwego jinikaya lanyos o gwile su an na hodong yo di liwayo. E toga dini doha from Guaniguna o gwile su a. Ka ni huno kwe daza a gwa ka nigo a gadala suiotala dano yo yanale su a un kwe da agua lau nama. E toga dini doha from Guaniguna. Toga ateno sungeli Guanigunho se wakodago se Guanigunlagunso. Daneto. It was just pretty much the previous speaker had said, giving thanks to everything, starting with the people, all of creation, the people, down to Mother Earth, down to the waters, the things that live in the waters, all our plants and medicines, all the bugs, the trees, the birds, the animals, the four-legged animals, and then we get into our spiritual stuff. Like everything that lives in the sky, the unknowns. That's all I wanted to say. I didn't know I was going to be doing this today. I got a little bit nervous and got lost for words, but you know, the elders always said, as long as it comes from your heart. Done it too.
Sasulai to Sherry Oaks for that Thanksgiving prayer. At this time, we would like to bring up Edwina Lincoln and April McGill.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is April McGill. I'm a member of Round Valley. I'm Yuki, Little Lake, Wailaki, and Mishua Wapo on my father's side. It's an honor to be here and speak before all of you. It's beautiful to see all of our relatives, all our Alcatraz veterans, and those that were involved in the occupation. I'm a San Francisco State alumni, so it feels beautiful to be back here on campus. When I was a student here, I was able to have the honor to work on the Richard Oaks archives. So I was able to help with the archives of the Richard Oaks film of the occupation, and then also with the mural project. So I didn't know until I was doing that work of how close my family was involved with Richard's life and Annie Oaks. And I remember when I saw Annie and she came here and she saw me and she said, "Oh, little April." And I was like, okay, how when our elders say that to us. She said, "Oh, little April." And I was like, okay. She said, you're Adeline's granddaughter." And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, I love your grandma." She said, "We always went to church together, and so you're our family." And so I always remember that. That was really special to me, to be a part of Richard's legacy and what all our relatives did for our people, for me to be here to do this work, and I serve my community as executive director of the American Indian Cultural Center, and also I work in policy at the California Consortium for Urban Indian Health. So it's just like Karina was saying earlier in her prayer is, we thank those relatives who've really paved the way for us and for the young people to continue on with this legacy. So I just want to say thank you to San Francisco State, to the Skins, to all those students that still are here, making sure that we keep Richard's legacy alive. I also want to mention too is, not only was there the occupation, but there was also the takeover of our land up in Yakima. Our land up there was taken over due to this occupation. And, I have my brother Blake Smith, my cousin Dave Smith, John Trippo, lots of our relatives were involved in that. And so I have really good memories of being out the land and knowing that was connected to this. So there's deep history and there's lots of stories. So tell your stories, tell those memories that you have of the occupation. So I'm just here today to share that, and I'll hand it over to my aunt, who's going to share as well. Oh.
Thank you. Oh, everyone, what a great honor and what a blessed morning. Everybody's here safe.
You know, that's first of all our morning and giving thanks for the breath of life and who we are and where our journey is going to take us today, one day at a time. So it's a great honor to be able to have asked to come and bring the dancers. And we're from, my family's from Round Valley, Northern California there, so it's a 3.5-hour drive. But you know what, it's really important. I have a really close connection with Richard Oakes' daughter, Fawn. I was 13 when the occupation happened on Alcatraz. But I feel like I was a big part of it because, you know, a lot of us that have kids and sometimes we have a hard time finding babysitters. Well, I was always their babysitter. And I felt like, you know, and I've known Fawn's mom really well. They were like our family. Grew up with them and around them back in the movement day. And then I ended up with my husband, who was actually in the movement when it first started, and learned a lot. And a lot of it was that Native people need to stand up, and Native people need to work together. Native people need to pray together. We need to burn medicine, and we need to come as one. And we need to have an open heart, an open spirit, and we always got to carry that ceremony with us to get things done, because the struggle isn't over. You know, Round Valley, so right now in the last 2 years with the Hastings Law School down here in San Francisco, we found out, and Hastings came and asked us for forgiveness for the massacre that they did with our Yuki people. And right now that we're asking them to change the name and giving it one of our names from Round Valley as the Yuki people, a Native name. So right now that's our fight, because the white man system and, you know, the different stages that we have to go through, Assembly, Senate, and Congress, all these things. And these are all attorneys. These are people that are opposing and don't want us, like I heard the lady say, our sister here, that's an Aboriginal member here, tribal person, that hearing her story and our story and those connections with every single tribe from California. And it all ends up here. And I told them, I said, you guys got rich off of us. You guys were getting $150 per head for a native, and it didn't matter if it was a woman, a child, or a man, or a young warrior. They were getting paid. I said, so you got all this money by stealing our land and massacring our people, but this is how it all went. But you know, we all have our stories, but my bottom line is we're all Native people, and those that are surrounded with us, those that want to come in that are non-natives, you're more than welcome to step up. We honor you as well, because you guys help us to open that door. This is how it works in society today. But remember, we got to work together, we got to come together, we got to sing, we got to pray, we got to put down our medicine and mean it from our hearts. If we have that faith that it's going to heal. I'm so proud of Morning Star, little girl, growing up in the movement, knowing her family. I was honored to be over there in Redding with her family, because they're just getting together and they're wanting to learn how to dance, they're wanting to learn how to sing, but they want to know the rules. When they asked about rules, I was so honored to be able to be a part of that family, to ask these things. And so I had an awesome time up there. The people are beautiful. Her family's beautiful from up there. So this is our dancers. We picked up some more dancers. I have 4 granddaughters. And because of graduation and things happening, they couldn't make it. Then I had one son and one grandson that said, okay, we're going to have to do this, right? It's not for a show, it's an honor. It's an honor because of Richard Oakes and that connection, what his meaning was at that time. What was his vision? What was that vision? And his vision was I understood that Alcatraz, he wanted to make that into a university. He wanted to make something where our people can get a higher education. That was his dream. That was his future, and our people supported that. So, I'm just honored. I'm really honored to be able to do this. Love you, Fawn. Just want to say, you know what, it's been years since my niece April, when she graduated. That's the last time I was here at San Francisco University. What an honor it was, and to see her succeed in everything that she does. You know, we're all not perfect, but we're learning, and I love it. I love to open up, you know, what I've learned and what I know, to be able to help the young women. They need us. They need us to have love. They need us to hold their hands. They need us for an understanding of their walk in life. So remember that, because we're getting at that age where, you know, we need to share that knowledge and wisdom and where we've been, and, you know, and it's okay. It's okay to have fallen, but make sure that there's someone there to pick them up. You know, speak good of our young women. Encourage them. They're important. They're the life givers. They are our future. They're the ones that can continue our future for us. Oh.
Money,
Okay, this is going to be what we call the going out song. So we're going to take the boys out. And again, it was a great honor and a great privilege to be able to be here and honor this day. It's just the beginning. And so for all of those, all the people that pulled it together, because that's what it takes. It takes everybody to work together to make something happen. So I just want to say I'm grateful and thankful for all of you that put your hard work together here to make this happen. It's a beautiful thing.
At this time, while the dancers are still getting ready, I would like to call for Lakota Hardin to come up. Lakota Hardin is the niece of Ross Hardin and has been involved with the American Indian movement for many decades. I look up to Lakota as a mentor. We helped to coordinate the Alcatraz Sunrise Gathering together, Lakota as the MC and myself as the organizer. So Lakota flew all the way in from Sitka, Alaska to be here with us today. So I apologize that it didn't make it onto the program, but Lakota is here to speak today for us. So thank you to Lakota.
Tashina Skawi Imanchiapi, Mea Lakota na Ochang. And I'll make this quick because I know everyone's hungry. But I was sitting there thinking, I hope somebody tells a joke. I think that's the thing I miss the most about being among Indian people. And I was raised in the American Indian movement. My family was a part of the beginning of all of this. My family was on Alcatraz. So all of you who are raised in the AIM families, you know you don't have a choice. You know, you grow up with that distinction and you know that you're related to everything. And when you're related to everything, you need to take care of everything, right? So a lot of us know, and I know this, a lot of people in this group here, we have worked our butts off, right? So I just want to ask for an O for all of you right now. Pilamia, thank you so much for all that you do. As I hug these women, as I hug people I've known for so many years, I know that you have spent every waking moment thinking about how we can make things better for our people, right? How we can make things better for our future generations to make sure that they have clean water and clean air. And what I want to say to us now is that we need to take care of ourselves as well. I think if Richard was here and all of them, I think they want us to love ourselves, to care for ourselves, because they went through all those sacrifices, and not only them, but you think about all the generations ahead of before that, who survived every kind of genocide that they could think of to throw at us, and here we are, still here, still beautiful. So when you look in the mirror, and you don't like your nose, or you don't like your thighs or something, that's one of our ancestors. This is my father's nose. And when my daughter was born, I thought, oh, she got it too, right? It didn't look like, what I was conditioned to think was beautiful. But when we look at our children, that's who we see as our ancestors, and we need to tell them how beautiful they are and help them to believe that. I got involved with that kind of work early on as a youngster in the movement because I saw how hard we were on ourselves. And I want us to know we are survivors of everything that they threw at us. And we can handle anything, right? So that's why I want to honor you today. I want you to love yourself today. I want you to look in the mirror and say, damn, you're good looking, right? And all of you and the people, the speakers, everybody, we're a big family, right? Everybody, we're all a big family. We've been doing this for a long time. It's good to see you, Mary Jane. It's good to see those of us who are still here. Because I look around the room and I think about Janet McLeod or Julie Hernandez or Helen, all the people that we've lost, Helen, all the leaders in our community. So this is a celebration of their lives as well. And all of those that came before us, all of those that thought well about us, who looked out for us to make sure that we could make it. And I'm very grateful that Morningstar asked me to be here. I went out to the Alcatraz in December? March. And I saw I hadn't seen the new one, and I saw my uncle's face bigger than life. My face, It's just, they went through so much. So anything that comes out, I want you to say, I can handle this. They handled that. We can handle this. So never forget that. You come from warriors. You come from queens. You come from the best, strongest, smartest, most resilient people. And let's not ever forget it. And we need to be kind to each other. Be forgiving to each other. And be forgiving to ourselves. That's the hardest one, right? Daniel Freeland used to say that the journey from here to here is the longest and hardest one. To really believe and love ourselves every day, all day. Medakya, say thank you. And we see all the people arriving on Indian time. No, I want to say something about Indian time. A lot of us were conditioned to be in the society, and it came from our parents and it came from our grandparents, because when we were being conditioned, when we were being colonized, Our lives depended on it. If you were late or if you didn't pray the way that they wanted you to, our lives depended on it. And in boarding school, it was even harder. When I was in boarding school, Alcatraz was happening. I was at St. Joseph's, where I was being conditioned to be a servant or a prisoner. Perfect conditioning for that, right? Our right to make decisions, our right to think about what we're doing next was taken away. So they rang a bell and we did this. They rang a bell and we did that. So I wanted to say that much because that's the biggest thing that I have been working on in my life, is really being gracious. You know, how many of you jump up and say, I should be doing something, right? What should I be working on? And we get on ourselves, we run ourselves ragged because we're trying to fix things for our people. We're trying to fix things for our families. We're trying to do things all the time. And that's been the hardest one for me, to just let go and relax and know that even if I'm doing nothing, Creator still loves me. My ancestors are still proud of me. They're happy that I'm taking care of myself, you know. So when this didn't start, I was really kind of happy about it, because when we say Indian time, it's a joke, but it really is when we're ready, when the elders are ready, when the dancers are ready, when the people who are graciously ready to make the food for us, when they're ready, that's our time, right? When we're all ready. So those are the things that we can recondition ourselves to let go of that time and be able to be gracious with our people and with each other. So with that much, I'll say, Pilamia, thank you. Now I'm really going to stop.
There's a number of Alcatraz occupation veterans. There's a number of relatives here that are children and family members of the Alcatraz occupation, and so we honor all of you for being here. We honor your families for being here at this time. While we are waiting, we will ask for Mr. Eloy Martinez. Mr. Martinez, if he can come up and offer some words. And then after Mr. Martinez speaks, then we will have the dancers, and then we will go into the lunch break. I want to share that Eloy has been very active in going to the island, in working with the National Park Service, in educating many school groups, many visitors there on the island, supporting with the graffiti restoration. And so thank you, Eloy. Thank you to all of you for joining us here this afternoon.
Political statements, not graffiti. Thank you, everybody that's here to support Richard. I'd like to say thank you to all of his family and all of his friends here that came with good hearts. And I know all of you are here today with a good heart. And it's especially nice to be here. And to me it's a great honor. I've known the Oaks family for probably 53 years. And it's an honor for them to even ask me to come up here and speak. And it's an honor for me to see all the people here that have come out to enjoy this day and celebrate with the Oaks family. And it's really good. When I first met Richard, he recruited me to Alcatraz. I came from Colorado, and when I got here, I didn't do any too much picture taking. I avoided the cameras. Actually, I was running from the law. So when I got here, I stayed undercover probably 3 or 4 years until one of my relatives back in Colorado actually got elected sheriff, and he told me, he said, you got to come back to Colorado. And I said, no way, man, you got warrants for me. So anyway, he became the sheriff, and he won by 1 vote, and he wanted me to come to his daughter's graduation. And he says, if I call you, come. If I don't call you, don't come. So he called me and he said, hey, I got you all, because everything that I had done was probably before I was 18. And it took me 9 years to learn my lesson before that time. So when I got out of here and I met Richard, I had already been involved with the farm workers because I needed to calm down. I was angry. I had buco angry issues. You know, I was willing to fight if you dropped. I had anything. You know, I just really go to blows with people. So I thought I needed that time. So I worked with Dolores Huerta and Caesar Chavez and all the rest of the families of the farm workers for about 3 years before I got involved with, you know, and actually I came out and we were at the San Francisco rally against Vietnam. That's where I met Richard. And my son was out there playing, and him and three other little kids came running up there and he said, "Hey, can we have a sandwich?" My wife Lisa used to always have this big old lunch basket full of bologna sandwiches. But anyway, that was a feast an Indian feast for all of us back in those days. But so they came running up and he says, "Can we have something to eat?" And I looked over and I saw this tall Indian looking kind of at me and watching the kids. And I just wondered, that might be related, so I just did that old hand signal, you know, can we feed the kids, kind of, you know. He walked over and introduced himself, and from that day on, we became friends. And, I didn't think I'd do that. Anyway, he asked me to join the Alcatraz movement. I met him and Annie the same day, and the kids that were all there, and we had a good time and just introduced ourselves. And he asked me, "When are all the Chicanos?" That was one of the first questions he told me. He said, "When are all the Chicanos going to realize that they're Indians?" And I told him, "Well, probably about the same time you realize that we are too." And we started laughing. So I've always identified with the Chicano movement, but I'm also a Southern Ute from Colorado. And but that was the high point right there, because when I met him, they were talking about nonviolence, you know, and I like that part because my whole life I've been involved in violence and institutions, and it was just not where I wanted to go, and it definitely was not an example I wanted to set for our young relatives. So I got involved with him, and I went a lot of places with him. After he left Alcatraz, I went with him. I met a lot of wonderful people, you know, like being with Richard, went up to the fishing rights in Washington, Oregon, Pit River with Mickey Kimmel, Frank Brown. So I got to meet a really lot of nice people that I would not have ever met by just hanging with them, you know. And I had this little Volkswagen bus that it was cheap on gas, and it has room for 17 people. So it was always full, and most of the time I had gas money. So, you know, that became kind of an Indian bus. So that bus took a lot of people on Alcatraz back and forth to the city and back across the bay to college when I was out there on the island. So that little bus was pretty well known because you couldn't miss it. It was about 15 different colors. You know, it was just like an old hippie bus that hadn't been completely painted. So anyway, the whole thing with Richard was, you know, his legacy to me was really important. That's why we started working to bring all of the signage and all the rest of the stuff back on Alcatraz, so that none of this would be forgotten. And all of our kids, our great-grandkids, all of our children can always look at Alcatraz and say, hey, you know, I was part of that. My parents were part of that. And a lot of the people that almost everybody that put those signs back, like signage of political statements, they call it graffiti, but those were all political statements. They had something, you know, I don't think I had even heard graffiti words back then. But when the park started mentioning that was the first thing I said, no, those are political statements. So a lot of the interpreters right now, that's what they say, they're political statements. And because that's exactly what they are, and that's exactly what they were meant to be. So we ended up putting all of the signage back, so it's pretty visible, and people have to ask, why is that there? And that's the main question, and one of the reasons we did that was so they would have to ask those questions, why? And, you know, and then we can answer because of the genocide, you know, the stuff that happened all over the country, you know, we can answer, that's why those things are important. They're reminders of what's been done and what can be done, you know. And there's a lot of people here today that aren't even natives that were involved, you know, in it and making it work for us. You know, Arco Hartman's here. I saw Lori here, Steve, some of the people that helped us bring that. Because the park, I started going out there with John Whitecroft, they didn't even want to talk to us about any of the stuff that had happened before. So it took a few years to get that conversation going with it. But there was enough people, and Lori especially, who was ranger right there, that was a main pusher and helped me do a lot of this stuff. Because she's the person on Alcatraz that knows where everything's at, all the skeletons and everything, you know. And she was the person that helped me when we first started doing things. I asked what was, because they had, before we even knew about anything, they had a prisoner and a guard reunion on Alcatraz every year for 20 years before I even found out about it. And when I found out about it, I had gone a few times there, and I hadn't really been pushing a whole lot of stuff. I was just trying to get stuff done. And to one of the guards that had been on Alcatraz for a long time, and he came up to me after I had been there with a couple of ceremonies with the park, the alumni thing, and they were getting fed steaks and stuff. Now, we never got steaks up there. We got sandwiches. But anyway, he came up to me, I think around 2013, and he told me, he said, "Yeah, I want to tell you something." And before Alcatraz had happened, you know, after Alcatraz happened, we never knew what they would have done to us. You know, we always said, they probably would have treated us like panthers, burned us up, shot us all down. We never knew about that. It was just kind of like in the wind. But anyway, on this particular day, he came up to me and told me, he said, "I want to tell you something, young man." And I was already old. I took it as a compliment at first. And then he says, you know, when you guys were on Alcatraz, he says, "I found out you took my island. I went out and I got myself deputized a federal marshal." So he was one of the marshals that was out there with the guns. And anyway, he told me, he says, "I want to tell you something." He says, "I had you in my sights twice." He said, "If Nixon and Garment hadn't put a stop to it, I'd have blown your ass out of the water." So, and he told me this in front of witnesses from the park. You know, Alexander Pivicat was one of the main people that started pushing for, you know, our side of the story. Because I was about to, you know, I was really kind of, he always brought me back to the old days of violence again. At that point, I walked away and I let him go. I figured, no, I'll give this guy a heart attack and then I'll end up in Alcatraz on the other side of the bars, you know. So, anyway, I walked away, and then Alexander Pivicat, who was a PR person for the park, she was right there when he said that to me. I told her, I told him, "That's bullshit." I told him, "These guys can get up there and spew all that shit that they want about us and talk about anything they want, and we got no place to rebut." So she started helping us, and then I got Lori to help us so that we can get these things to go back on an Alcatraz so that we can tell our side of the story. And the interpretation that they're doing out there in the park is more close now than it's ever been. But I think it's really important that all our sons, daughters, grandchildren, everybody knows the real stories so they can get those stories across. And everybody in this room has stories. You know, you can go all over. You know, I could keep talking for a long time, but I went through a lot with Richard. I was there during a lot of demonstrations, different places. I was there I went there when he died, but I got there shortly after. I helped dig his grave. I'm the only one left. Annie's brothers were the rest. So my love for him, his family, is straight from my heart.
big O for Eloy Martinez. At this time, we are going to bring up the Habenapo dancers. Bring them up. They're going to dance right here on the floor, so maybe we can scoot these chairs back a little bit. And then after they dance, we will go into our lunch break. So thank you, everyone.
Hallelujah. Years ago, I jumped on this stage, just like I did jumped off a sailboat onto the dock back in 1969, early morning of November 20th. But as time goes on, our bodies also move on. I was one of those that landed in the wee mornings of November 20th, about 3 o'clock one morning, 1969. We talked about, in summing a lot of the stuff up that was talked about up here. A lot of things, have been, Alcatraz brought a lot of changes for the Native Americans in a real positive sense. There was an act that was before Congress back in the 60s, but it hadn't passed yet. It was called the Indian Termination Act. Has anybody heard about that before? And that essentially was to terminate the Indian reservations and assimilate us and send us out to civilization so that we become civilized and become just one of a citizen of the United States. And what Alcatraz did was reverse that. Congress passed the act called the Indian Self-Determination Act, Public Law 638. For those of us that live on the reservation, you hear the 638, that program. Anybody hear about that? Okay. The 638, that program. Well, that means that we could take these programs that are initially run by the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the federal government and run by tribal people themselves. So a lot of responsibilities was taken from the BIA, and the tribes were able to run their own programs. I was, there was a time in my life, I know, and I know a lot of people too, that with my feelings that there was a time it was a shame and a fear to be Native American because of the racism. I grew up in a small little town. Our reservation was, it's 3,000 people, but that was our reservation was an open reservation, which is called open to white settlement, called the Homesteaders Act. So our reservation was open to that. And racism back then, we were afraid to be Indian, and a lot of people changed their name from a real Stoic Indian name to, they anglicized it. And we were followed around in stores, and I'm sure many of you guys have probably, had that done to you. You go in a store, and the clerks will be right behind you someplace, pretending they're fixing something right next to you. When you go to the next aisle, they're right over there fixing something else. And those are the things that we put up with. And then growing up in high school, sports and proms and, things like that. It took money, all right, but I think a lot of Indian people, kids didn't even participate in those. I don't think they even tried. I know I didn't, because I felt like I wouldn't have a chance. There might be one token Indian basketball player or football player, and that would be about it. This what happened there was a treaty. The Alcatraz takeover was based upon a Sioux treaty stemming from the Battle of the Little Bighorn by the Sioux, some of the Sioux bands and the Cheyenne and the Arapaho band, because there was one passed in 1851 that didn't work. And they had made promises to Indians back then that there would be food, you don't have to worry about anything. Well, they weren't getting the food, and so there was an uprising in Minnesota and other reservations that were being affected by it. And so they went to war with the cavalry, which happened to be Custer and his group. You know about that. So after that war, and by the way, my grandpa was one of the Eastern Sioux my great-grandpa was one of the Eastern Sioux that was a band that participated in that Battle of the Little Bighorn. And at that time, the Minnesota Uprising, in that 1851 treaty, they promised the Indians food and stuff like that, but they weren't getting it. And so they went and told one of the Indian agents, well, you promised us, and, we're supposed to get them, we better help them, one of the agents said. And one agent said, let them eat grass. Thus the uprising, because they were upset. So when they found this guy, he had grass stuck in his mouth when he was dead. So, those kinds of things. What happened with the Alcatraz takeover? We all hung around in groups, and I came out here, and I wouldn't say on the Relocation Act, but through the Relocation Act, because my brother and his family came out here. I wanted to be with the little kids because they were the firstborn little kids that we had. So through them, I started meeting people, and I had these groups. Richard Oakes was one of them. Al Miller was one. Gerald Sam, Joe Bill, Freak Out Freddy, we used to call him. Gail Treppa, Mary Diedrichson, we used to call her Merry Christmas. There's a whole bunch of groups. People had groups, And so we were recruited by Richard and Al Miller. They were students at they were students at San Francisco State at the time. And Al knew these people that had some boats. So Al told Gerald, and he set him up. Al told Richard. So they got together, and that's how they got the boats tickets out there. Mary Crowley should have been here. Is she here? Mary Crowley was one of the people that owned the boat. And she was only 18. Can you imagine having a sailboat at the age of 18? However she did it, I don't know. But anyway, when I said coming up here, imagine 53 years ago I could jump off the stage like I did. I jumped off the sailboat onto the dock on Alcatraz. Anyway, the boat I got on, this guy didn't want any women or children. I wonder why. I don't know. But me and my friends, female friends, the guys hit us on, wrapped up in these mattresses. And so we hid, but he was adamant that there's no women or children. So he was kicking the mattresses and, we sat there just tight. You could hear the feet, not kicking us and stuff, but we sat tight, and everybody said, well, wait till we say clear, then you can jump off. So after the guy wasn't looking, we heard clear, so we jumped up, and we jumped off onto the dock, and the guy said, hey, I said no women or children, and it was exciting, we had no idea. We saw that some people had like sleeping gear, things like that. I think they were prepared for something. Anyway, my friends and I, Gail and Mary, we didn't even care. We were just going along, We didn't have anything. We didn't have change of clothes. We didn't have a brush. We didn't carry purses back then, and we just were there. But we knew what we were going there for, because we didn't know if we were going to stay the night or if we were going to get shot the next day. So it was exciting, yet it was kind of fearful. And anyway, Gail and I, we up on a main building there, the cell block. There was a steep incline if you've ever been up there. Her and I climbed over there, and we camouflaged some of the bushes, and we were watching, keeping watch. This was the Coast Guard started just, circling the island. And so we sat in there and we were watching, and I had to come up here, I think, was it 3 years ago? Yeah, for the 50th I came up, and we had to speak, we had a panel before then. Eli was on there. And Eloy. Anyway, it dawned on me, you know what? When you're young, you don't realize a lot of things that could happen, but when you get older, geez, that was stupid. But anyway, it dawned on me, we're sitting in the bushes, watching them, and the spotlight was shining, and we ducked. But goddamn it, we both wore glasses. I mean, they must have thought they were seeing raccoons or something sitting out there. But a lot of changes were made, a lot of, in the Public Law 630, a lot of more education, monies, more health, education, more health came together, and there's more of that. But, again, today, if you realize a lot of that's starting to dwindle again. They're cutting back, and, that 1868 were all federal trust property, and land would be automatically turned back to Native Americans. That the 1868 treaty stated should Native Americans sue people out of the Dakota Territory. Well, we wanted the island because it was surplus property. It was surplus land. We didn't get it, of course, or we would have had a university out there. But again, another treaty broken, and but we tried our best. It was a statement. I think deep down inside we weren't going to get it, But it was a statement, and then from that statement to take over again, a lot of positive things were created for Native Americans. You know, say, hey, we need to take a look at these people because we had been so ignored for so long, overlooked, mistreated, our lands taken away, called the Homesteaders Act. You know, where did these white people get their land from? You know, where did they get the money to do that? How did they, you know, I went to Bellingham, Washington, about 4 years ago, I think. I went to go whale watching, and there's this big old plaque and a big story of this woman who owned that island. She had bought it. And this was like some long time ago. And I'm sitting there thinking, how did she buy that land from who? I mean, if you realize that, you know, these people set up homes anywhere they want to, and they claim it. And they've done that to all of the Aboriginal people or indigenous people from every country. The ones in Australia, they did the same thing to them. The Hawaiians, if you take out every one of them, I don't want to re-say anything bad about the non-Indian people, but they've done that. And where do they get the gall from? Where, you know, what makes them think they can do this? But they've done it. And, you know, it's really sad. And I remember when Shirley was talking about getting on the island, we were already out there, and she broke through the blockade because there was a blockade. Like when I talked about the Coast Guard circling, you know. Her and I think it was her sister. Did she mention her sister? And I remember them very well. And it's like, they're Monos? What's Mono? You know, I mean, and then I heard Pomo. Then I heard all these different tribes. I'm like, oh my God, really? You know, there were so many tribes that I was never aware of. Being out in the Midwest, it was just these old fearful Sioux and Apache and Comanche, all the, you know, those ones that you hear about. And then these California Indians, you know, some of them are still starting to learn their names, learn about some of the tribes that are out here. And really, it's really heartwarming for me to be a part of this takeover. I learned a lot. It gave me a lot of self-esteem, a lot of confidence. I'm able to speak up to the white people before I wasn't. And, you know, it's, yeah, you know, that fear. One time I went shopping at Walmart, of all places. Of course, we all go to Walmart, you know. I went Christmas shopping, and I used one of these handicap carts. And they must have had a store detective, but he couldn't have been more obvious than what he was. I mean, he followed me all over the damn store. I mean, he was over on the clothing side, and he'd be so far away, you know. Well, I thought those were over by now, you know, and go over to the grocery side, and he'd be right there, you know. And he actually followed me up to the counter. And he was standing over to the next counter, peeking over at me like this. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's ridiculous. Well, anyway, I had to go to another counter and get something else that they weren't selling at this counter. So I had to go pass by him. I said, oh, my secret admirer. You know, at least I got to say that. But, you know, a lot of that stuff still goes on today, you know. I mean, there are a lot of ignorant people out there. A lot of people aren't self-actualized anymore, you know. And I don't read like in the courts or nubs of the news because, you know, I don't need to know that stuff anymore. Who got a DUI, who got, you know, that's not important to me anymore. I'm more concerned about the person rather than what they did, you know. And so, you know, Alcatraz was really a turning point for Native Americans. And it was kind of like it was so successful, in a sense, not that we got the land, but we were successful in making a statement and being recognized that the pride came back to Native Americans. We were proud, and the protesting started all over the country. They weren't afraid to protest anymore. And so now, talking about names, I mean, people were changing to Caucasian names. Now they're making their Caucasian name into something Native American, you know, whether that's their ancestral name or not, but they're doing it. People are sun dancing. You know, we didn't have sun dances. It wasn't until 1978 when they had the Indian Religion Freedom Act was passed, because we weren't allowed to practice our Indian religion. I guess they thought we were pagans or savages, and you know, actually they were afraid of the ghost dance. They really believed we could kill them from afar. I wish that was true. There wouldn't be any right now. But you know, be proud of who you are. You know, stand up to these people that, you know, confront you about your race or about anything. You know, get your education. You know, it really helps a lot. They say that you got to fight fire with fire. So education is one of those that you can use to fight other fires. You know, and I'm glad to have been a part of it. I'm very proud. I don't go around saying it, you know, but people say, "You were on Alcatraz?" I said, "Oh yeah, I was." Landed that early in the morning, you know, jumped off the sailboat onto the dock. Now I need help going down these stairs. You ready to come get me? Yes. Okay, that's all I have to say, unless there's questions. I probably forgot something I wanted to say, but when I sit down or if I'm back south, I go, oh, I should have said that. But thank you.
Cecily to Geneva Seaboy, Alcatraz occupation veteran. There will be time to offer more words tomorrow morning on the island. We still do have a number of speakers, and we do have a hard stop, so I am going to ask everyone from this point on to keep it to 5 minutes, please, and we'll be able to get through. We have one more dance group, and we still have about 5 speakers. So at this time, I'll ask for Mary Jean Robertson from KQ Radio Station. And we'll go through the list of the family representatives. So we have Benishi Titus, Nadia Bratt, and Victoria Gimmel, and also Skins that will be speaking. So thank you.
We have 5 minutes. I know.
Osio Tohichu, Gigi Meligini Dawadoa, Ani Chiskwa, Ani Yunwia, Chalagi. Hi, I'm Mary Jean Robertson. I'm Bird Clan Cherokee from Cherokee Nation Citizen. And I moved to San Francisco in September of 1969. And I was pregnant with a baby boy that was born in May of 1970. And because the American Indians were still having their children taken away from them, my son was given up for adoption and we were reunited. And I just wanted to say that Alcatraz was my birthing. I gave birth to an idea. You all gave birth to an idea that transformed the country. The Termination Act that was just mentioned. In December, during the occupation, in 1970, President Nixon at the time said we're going to end the termination policy and begin self-determination. So in 1973, Congress passed the Self-Determination Act, and I can only speak for my nation because that's the nation that I know. The Cherokee Nation were then able to make a new constitution in 1975. They then begin to pass, they begin to have their own elections, and they elected the first elected principal chief instead of appointed. Bill Keeler was the original principal chief that was appointed by the presidents, and he was only there to sign oil leases. So it was transformative for every nation across the country. They were able to change the governing system to self-determination. So, you know, it's really, really critical what y'all did on the island. And I also want to shout out to, you know, the Sausalito Navy, those crazy sailboat and boat riders from Sausalito who just came out and took people through the barriers and through the things. I want to give a shout out to all of those community members who weren't on the island but were here in the city. You know, Debbie over there was protecting her family car from getting arrested so that they could deliver food and clothing and supplies to the island. Alberta right there was helping to drive. And who knows what Bill was doing. He was loading the car and unloading the car and everything else. But there were people, I remember talking to a young man who said, I saw Alcatraz. I was part of it. I was living in San Francisco, and my father packed up a whole bunch of water and we drove out to the docks and we sent it off. So there are people, because this is a media hub, San Francisco was able to give a lot of attention that wasn't there before. And the other thing that happened on Alcatraz was that there was a radio program. It was Radio Free Alcatraz. And it encouraged all of us. The FCC finally opened up radio stations to people on all the different reservations. They could finally get some radio stations. So we started with John Trudell. Clayton Duncan and Jim Brown were doing up in Northern California. I want Peggy Berryhill started working on KPFA on Living on Indian Time. Jen Hewitt was down in Santa Rosa. And then there was John McClain, Barbara Cameron, me, Dennis Jennings, Tavia Clark. We all did Red Voices. And I just wanted to say that the transformative powers of speech that you guys started on the island, the stories that were told, is so important, and it increased our visibility. It increased our ability to transmit that kind of information from generation to generation. And so I wanted to shout out to all those people, Janine, Lakota, who've been doing KPFA, and keeping the stories alive, because right now we're having to fight to protect the American Indian Child Welfare Act. Right now we're trying to protect the waters. Right now we're still trying to protect the caribou, the porcupine caribou herds. We're trying to protect the lands, the people, the waters, the insects, and everything. And without those voices, without that power that was sparked by the spiritual people of White Roots of Peace and Thomas Binyaka and David Menangi, we wouldn't be where we are today. And we're still spiritual people, and we're still connecting the dots. So thank you very much. Wado. Oh, that's your program. Sorry.
Thank you to Mary Jean Robertson of KPOO radio station here in San Francisco. At this time, we will ask for Benishi Titus to come up. Benishi is the granddaughter of Adam Fortunate Eagle Nordwell.
I want to thank Fawn and the Oaks family for having me here as a speaker. I was raised in Oakland, and I went to Hint Hill with Auntie Shirley and other Alcatraz veterans. And I haven't been back to San Francisco State since I was a student here and a member of Skins in 1992. Fawn has always acknowledged the connection between our families and showed respect and admiration for my grandfather, Adam Fortunate Eagle Nordwall. I was basically born to be an activist and pass down this history of the Indian occupation of Alcatraz because my grandfather gave me the name Beneshi Ba-Ikwe, which means bird of the water woman, and I was named after the birds of Alcatraz. I was also born on the 5-year anniversary of the November 9th event at Alcatraz that my grandfather organized, and where Richard Oakes read the proclamation that my grandfather wrote. He gave Richard Oakes the beaded headband to wear and the proclamation to the Great White Father to read to the press. My grandfather first met Richard Oakes when they were both testifying at the Council on Indian Opportunity, and he recognized strong leadership in Richard and talked with him during the summer of 1969 about plans to occupy Alcatraz. He invited Richard to a Halloween party in San Francisco where people from the media were present and told everyone if they let the plans leak, there would be no event. And on November 9th, there was around 70 natives that were there to take the trip to Alcatraz. My grandfather knew that Richard Oakes was a charismatic leader like himself, and he was just telling our family that he sees Richard Oakes as a friend and a fearless warrior. 7 years before, Cy Williams told my grandfather that they needed Native leadership in the Bay Area. He organized the United Bay Area Council of Indian Affairs, composed of 12 affiliated tribal groups, and was the elected chairperson there for 14 years, beginning in 1962. He worked with inmates for the American Indian Cultural Group of San Quentin Prison for 12 years. He was with a group of Lakotas at the first Alcatraz occupation in 1964. He helped organize the Intertribal Council of California, California Indian Legal Services, and the California Indian Education Association. Anybody who knows my grandfather knows that he's a scholar, a spiritual leader, but he's also a trickster. And he used satire and humor to draw attention to the horrible way the government has treated natives when he symbolically scalped Columbus at the yearly Columbus Day event in San Francisco in 1968. And after he snatched the wig off the actor playing Columbus's head, he read a statement about the devastating impacts of colonization on Native Americans. The proclamation to the Great White Father that Richard Oakes read on November 9th came out of a 5-point proposal that the United Council presented to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors for the use of Alcatraz. And he again used satire and humor by mocking the Bureau of Indian Affairs, by establishing a Caucasian Bureau of Affairs, where natives would help civilize our white brothers by teaching them our ways. And he compared Alcatraz to the horrible conditions on reservations. He didn't sign the proclamation with the California Bay Area organizations he was part of. He deliberately signed it, Indians of all tribes, because he wanted to draw attention that this was a national issue for all Native Americans. To this day, at the age of 92, my grandfather, Adam Fortunate Eagle Nordwall, continues to write and give interviews on Native culture and history. And my family and I are proud to be here today and to be part of this legacy of Native activism. Miigwech. Thank you. these are his great-granddaughters, Emmy and Ellery. Thank you so much to Benishi Titus, granddaughter of Adam Fortunate Eagle Nordwall. This time I'd ask for Nadia Bratt to come up. Nadia is speaking as a child of the Alcatraz occupation and representing the Bratt family. After Nadia, we'll have Victoria Gimmel. We still have Skins, and we still have the Smith family that will be coming up and dancing. So I ask for your patience. For those that weren't able to speak, we will be out on the island at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning loading the boats, and so there will be time on the program then. So Nadia Bratt.
Good afternoon, relatives. My name is Nadia Bratt, and just to give you a little bit of context, my father's Peter Bratt, and my ancestry there is German, English, Czechoslovakian. My mother, Eldie Bratt, many people don't know, basically came here as a teenager, and her and my great-grandmother, Petra, were to be servants, because down south, a lot of similar things happened to native peoples, and they were separated upon coming here. My mom and great-grandmother did not know that. And my mom was sent to a private boarding school here in San Francisco. And she did go to class. She had never been to school, even though she was a teenager. And she was a servant. So she was also being raised to be a servant. What happened was my mother, LD, she had 5 children. Peter, Benjamin, Georgia. Verushka was just 6 months old when the occupation began. And my mom, by that time, was in her 30s. And we had gone to Thanksgiving celebration with my father. And my mom was alone with my baby sister. And she turned on the television to the only station that we got, and that was KQED. And she saw this man, Richard Oakes. So, Vaughn, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to say thank you to you and your family and all of the indigenous relatives up here in the north and the cause. Because why? We cannot think of that name, Richard Oakes, without thinking about fire and passion. And I'm going to say my mom, I went to see her today to get her blessing because I told her I was going to be sharing a few words. And she said that it was that passion and his charisma that made her feel so impelled and moved. And he said, Indians of all tribes, north and south, we must unite. My mother raised us as indigenous. Before it was in vogue or popular. So when she heard this man and saw him on television, she felt this calling. The next thing was she found herself down at the wharf. And when she was getting onto the boat, and she had this little baby that was only months old, she was just barely making it to the boat, and she was trying to figure out how to get on. All these brown hands, she says, reached out to her. And from that moment on, something just split her heart open. And she felt for the first time after decades being here that she was finally at home with family, with relatives. Because Native relatives up here do the same, just like down south. The children are everybody's children. The children are everybody's responsibility. So it's the whole thing of Richard Oakes, the sisterhood, that boat. And then also, she made friends and found a special sister in Fawn's mom, Anne. Anne and my mom had a really tight relationship. After years later, never forgot that, always was looking for them, and it wasn't until I moved back north when I was at a raffle at the Native American Health Center, and I heard one of the raffle winners was little Richard Oakes, and I was like, what? And that's where we got reconnected. But Ann Oakes and my mom's friendship, that was another reason why my mom had great respect for Richard Oakes. Because it wasn't just that he was charismatic and that he was bright and that he was young, but he was a family man. And my mom had great respect for him because not only was he a family man and he put his wife first, but he fell in love with a woman who had already 6 children. And he treated every single one of them as if they were his own. I could tell you more, but I know we're cut for time, so I just want to say one of the biggest impacts is, as my mom says, she doesn't know why she had to be cut away from her family and come here, except that she came here to plant 5 seeds, her children. And I'm here to tell you, the whole thing of Alcatraz is like a little spark, that fire Richard Oakes had in everybody. It ignited something in my mother. That flame has been passed on to each and every one of us. And it even ripples into the 3rd generation as our children, my mom's grandchildren, continue to work and strive about a way of life. Because it's not about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about waking up the other relatives, the human beings on this planet, our Mother Earth. It's about connection to life. These are the values that no matter where you are, if you're an indigenous person on Mother Earth, it speaks to you. And many of us have been cut off from our tribal ways, our traditions, and our families. So besides being Quechua Aymara from my mother's side of the family, my family's been adopted, Lakota, Dene, Tlingit. The truth is that when you remember that you're part of the circle of life, just like the trees, the bees, and the water, and all that is sacred, and you respect that, and you love it, and you care for it, that's what it is. And that's what's at danger and at risk in these times, in these ways. Richard Oakes was an incredible leader. His spirit lives on. He was an ordinary man doing extraordinary things. I don't think that he would like to hold himself up on a pedestal. On the contrary, the closer to the mother, the better, because we all know that's our foundation. What we're all made of, all those sacred elements. And so it's about doing what we can. It's not necessarily being in the limelight. It's whatever you are. If you're a baker, if you're a teacher, if you're a homemaker, if you're a politician, if you're a nurse, if you're a gardener, a janitor, it's about doing the best you can. And being a leader and carrying these values and traditions around is not something you just put on temporarily. It's a way of life. It's how you show up and build connection. So I just want to say thank you. Long live the spirit of Richard Oakes. And thank you for this opportunity. God bless you all.
Thank you to Nadia Bratt, representing the Bratt family. At this time, I would like for Victoria Gimmel to come up, representing Mickey Gimmel. I think she wanted to, did you still want to ask for Bruce Galley? No? Okay, we'll wait. Richard has a quote, "The implementation of the idea of Alcatraz is at Pitt River." And so here is Victoria Gimmel representing Pitt River Tribe and Mickey Gimmel.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that this is a place where life-changing ideas and lifelong relationships flourish. Masters of innovations are here and in many learning institutions across the world. This is where many of our people came to further their education to build a better world for their families and their children. Most importantly, to honor the ancestors before them by simply flourishing from the fallout of genocide. It was many men and women that built this platform for us to stand on with our hearts strong and our heads held high to say we honor you, and you impacted our lives by bringing more balance to the world. Today I honor those students, Richard Oakes, my father, and all those other students who brought us here today. They inspired many through their work, which was instrumental in the Native American rights movement. I honor the minds where American Indian and Ethnic Studies was born, the organization of the Alcatraz occupation, and many other movements such as the Pit River occupation, land claims, DQ University, the writing of many legislative changes that help forward our people and the work. The work continues today as a result, and many of us benefit. It's all interconnected. My father, Mickey, and Richard Oakes were students here when they met and formed a friendship. They became best friends. The bond that connected them was that they wanted to work for the people and future generations. The movement brought together many people from all over the world that carried similar dreams. My father and Richard also had dreams for the people. My father was able to spend his life working on those dreams. Richard would have too, but sadly was silenced. Richard Oakes, his wife, his children, and family paid the ultimate sacrifice. We must honor his sacrifice and that of little Yvonne Oakes. My father took that sacrifice serious, as well as our ancestors' sacrifice. It was a deep pain that he carried throughout his life. He honored Richard and our ancestors in that dream by continuing the work. My father's hero was Tecumseh, who modeled the unity of the people and was a warrior for the people and an extremely intelligent man. Richard was very much like Tecumseh. The common bond between them was the love of the people, those young students that went from San Francisco State University to Alcatraz to the Pit River occupation. Those young men had foresight. They worked alongside of our Pit River people to stand against the illegal occupation of our tribal lands, as we as the people have never relinquished the title of our lands. They called out multinational corporations, the federal government, and many state and local agencies. They were traditional people. They were the people's leaders. They were willing to sacrifice their lives and incarceration. To this day, the Pit River people hold the rightful title of their lands. The work continues today, as Lakota said. Many are continuing the work, as it is hard work and it comes with sacrifices. Going forward, how can we help the youth carry on that knowledge, the knowledge of our ancestors, and help teach the youth the legal mechanisms that were used against us to claim title to our lands, particularly the Papal Bulls and the doctrine of discovery. We need to look to the work that is forwarding our people, in particularly the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. There's much sickness amongst our society. We can heal by seeking traditional knowledge, worldly ideologies, and connections, and the work left for us to carry on by Richard and the students and many of those here today who were there occupying the island, and continue the work all over. There's so many of you that I know personally continue that work today, and those who started that fire that still remains today, that has been mentioned. I just want to say thank you, and I don't know if Morning Star would like to add to the occupation, but it was another strong pivotal point in land rights and land claims against the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you to Victoria Gimbel. At this time, we are asking for Cash Martinez, representing Skin of San Francisco State, to come up and offer some words. We'll have our closing dancers, and we thank you all for being here with us throughout the afternoon.
Greetings, friends, and relatives of the Oakes family, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. My name is Cash Martinez, and I am honored to be here today, along with fellow Skins members and alumni, to speak on behalf of our historic organization. I am Southern Pomo on my dad's side, and my family is from the Federated Indians of Grattan Rancheria in Sonoma County, where our ancestors and relatives have been since time immemorial, despite the county's better efforts to try and erase us. I would like to take a brief moment to thank Morningstar and Lisa for their work in organizing this event. Skins would also like to extend our deepest gratitude and love to Fawn Oaks and her son, Elijah, for the kindness and compassion their family has shown us in the past few months. Thank you for inviting us to be here today, and we look forward to all that we will accomplish together in the future. The Student Council of Intertribal Nations is honored to be here today as we celebrate and remember Richard Oakes for the man that he was, an activist who had a dream of a better world for his children, their children, and every American Indian that walks and has yet to walk in this world. We are honored to be evidence of this dream, to continue to uphold and protect his legacy and all that Oakes worked towards in his lifetime. The Student Council of Intertribal Nations was founded by Oakes and several other American Indian and Indigenous students in 1969, with the support of the historic Black Student Union and the Third World Liberation Front. Originally named SCAN, the Student Council of American Natives, the organization's founding goal was to foster a sense of intertribal solidarity and support among Native students on campus, particularly in the face of institutional oppression by San Francisco State University, who had only a year earlier allowed SFPD to brutalize students of color and faculty members during the ethnic studies strike of 1968. In a 1994 essay titled The Student Council of Intertribal Nations, 25 Years Remembered, former Skins member Michael Mass says this of the org's members, quote, "The students were the warriors of a new era. This new generation of warriors would have a new battlefield. Their battles would be fought in the institutions created by the oppressors. These students knew that to fight on this new battlefield, they would need to arm themselves with an education. The war was the same war many of their ancestors had given their lives for. These students, by their actions, proved the sincere commitment they had for the rights of all American Indian people. Though Skins has faced many challenges in the decades since its founding, it is in our struggles that we have also found the promise of our liberation. It is through Skins that many of us have found a sense of belonging and self in a world that, for over 500 years, has tried to erase both. It is through Skins that we have formed unbreakable bonds with those around us and found lifelong friends that we call relatives. It is through Skins that we have been able to reclaim and decolonize the voices and dreams of our ancestors, past, present, and future. Skins is more than a student organization at a state university. It is a family, a tribe of its own, an unspoken promise that we make to ourselves and our community to carry on our people's spirit of resistance when we call ourselves the Student Council of Intertribal Nations. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Skins. Thank you to Cash Martinez. At this time, we're going to bring out our last dance group, and then we'll have our raffle. We're going to ask for this front row here, if you can move your chairs back a bit. We're going to bring out our dancers from MPA, from Manchester Point Arena. They're going to come out and join us. We have the Smith sisters and MPA dancers.
Hi, welcome. We're the Manchester Point Arena dancers. My father, David Smith, wasn't able to make it today, but he did have some words to share about Richard Oakes. Richard Oakes, he met in 1969 through his cousin Annie Oakes. And from there, Richard Oakes was holding some meetings, and my father attended. And he liked what he was hearing. He thought it was a good idea to come out here, and was really excited that you guys are honoring him. And just had a lot of good things to say about Richard. Richard served as an advisor to the takeover of the Yaquinama land occupation in Sonoma County back in 1979. And some of the things that my father recognized that is he woke a lot of people with his words. He got everybody involved. Want to come back and start bringing the culture back, and he knew that working together, networking, to do things on our own, to build up our economy, to build up program development, Those were the things that they were excited about, and those were the things that drew the movement. So with that, as my father would say, he wants to honor him, and also these songs that we're going to be doing are done in a sacred way, and it helps keep our families together and to get through the hard times. So with that, yeah, we have our women dancers today. For some reason, we didn't have any men, so the Spirit's telling me in a sacred way, we're going to do some women's songs and just really empower our men who are usually here to protect us. And so we're going to sing some songs and dance in honor of them today. Yahweh. Oh. have the ladies come together in a circle. Hey!
give girls a little chance to show off.
dance all night, but we got another gig. I'm just kidding. So I did want to touch base and let you guys know we do have a secretary of Yakayama, Rose Hammock and Jansen represents and proud to be chairwoman of Yakayama. Okay, we're just going to close out with the song Traveling. Safe travels, and for the ladies here, just to make sure we're safe going home. We've got to change our own tires and stuff happens a little bit. So yeah, just want to thank the school, thank the university, special thanks to Blanco for inviting us and letting us be here and to honor your father.
Big O for the NPA dancers and singers. Testing, testing. A big O for the NPA dancers and singers. We send lots of prayers out to Dave Smith and the rest of the family and really appreciate them joining us. As we get ready to wrap up, we want to ask for Elijah Oakes and Lenny Oakes to come up and offer some words on behalf of the Oakes family. We'll have the raffle and then we'll ask everyone that's able to help us clean up here as we get ready to head out. Remember, 8 a.m. If you miss the boat, then you're on your own for tomorrow morning.
Sego Guego. How the heck do you follow that? That was awesome. On behalf of the family from out east, I'd like to bid a very, very humble thank you. We've always been in contact out here out west, and my father, Leonard Sr., Richard's brother, wanted me to make sure that everybody that's still around of the occupation, and his now good friend Eloy, Uncle Richard's West Coast brother, we appreciate you. But my father also wanted to make sure that his brother's words were heard. Everything, all the panelists that were up here today pretty much said everything that my father and the Oaks family back home had wanted to hear. You know, the appreciation, the love, the respect. And that the message from out east is we do the same. We love you. We respect you. And now Goa. Thank you very much.
I guess I just want to say thank you to everybody who helped organize the event. My mom, Uncle Eloy, my Auntie Victoria, April McGill, Morningstar, of course, you know. And I want to say that I appreciate all my other aunties like Nadia, Mary Jane, you know, everybody who came out to support, and Geneva Seaboy, of course. It's really beautiful to hear how impactful my grandfather's legacy and words were upon the people he interacted with. And I ran a bit late, so I missed a lot of the good parts, but you know, I'm glad I could see at least the end. It was really beautiful to see Uncle Dave's group come out. I've never seen all girl dances. That was tight. Yeah, it was real powerful. They held it down for real. Yeah. But yeah, just thank you everybody.
I would like to end on earlier today. It was joked about the Cross Turtle Island joke about Indian time, and I'd just like to say that this occupation, the late 60s, was Indian time. Standing Rock was Indian time. What is it? Forgive me for mispronouncing it. What, Suatin up north, the north border, was Indian time. Every treaty that was signed from our nations to the other nation was Indian time. That flag over there, we call the two-row wampum. That represents in our territories 2 vessels. But when the white man came over, and they came to the East Coast, and when they met with our delegates, our leaders said, "We're going to honor you, but this is how we're going to honor you. We're going to stay in our canoes, and we're going to abide by our laws. We're going to rule by our laws, and you stay in your ship. And in no way these are ever to cross." You know, so we have to get back to that. So today's Indian time. Now.